Rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the 42nd floor. Victoria Hayes pressed her palm against the cold glass, watching Seattle blur into watercolor streaks below. 3 years of 16-hour days had earned her this corner office, this empire built on ash and secrets. The quarterly reports, Miss Hayes. Marcus Chen, her assistant, placed the leather portfolio on her mahogany desk with trembling hands. At 24, he still jumped when she spoke. Victoria turned from the window, her emerald eyes sharp as cut glass in the fading afternoon light. The Whitmore Industries acquisition? Her voice carried the edge that made board members flinch. Completed this morning. Your signature transferred their entire manufacturing division to Hayes Technologies. Marcus shifted his weight. Mr. Sterling also wanted me to remind you about the Children's Hospital Foundation Gala tomorrow evening. The name struck like lightning through her chest. Dominic Sterling, the man whose empire she had gutted, the man whose secrets she had buried, the man whose trust she had shattered in ways that still woke her screaming. Tell Mr. Sterling I won't be attending. Actually, he asked me to deliver this personally. The envelope bore her name in Dominic's distinctive handwriting, each letter precise and controlled. Inside, a single sentence in black ink. We need to talk about what you took from me. Victoria's hands trembled. 5 years since their last conversation. 5 years since the night that destroyed everything between them and left her climbing over the wreckage of what they had once been. Miss Hayes? Marcus's voice seemed underwater. Should I send a response? She looked up, catching her reflection ghost-like in the darkened window behind him. The powerful CEO who commanded respect and fear in equal measure. The woman who had built her own empire on stolen ground. Tell him I'll be there. The words tasted like blood and old regrets. And Marcus, clear my schedule for the rest of the week. As her assistant hurried out, Victoria sank into her leather chair and pulled open the bottom drawer of her desk. Hidden beneath financial reports lay a single photograph. Herself and Dominic at last year's tech summit, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing at something she could no longer remember. She had been Victoria Sterling then, his wife of 2 years, his partner in every sense that mattered, before she stole his research, before she sold his life's work to his competitors, before she disappeared with $50 million and the secrets that would have made him the most powerful man in tech. Her phone buzzed against the silence. A text from an unknown number. Tomorrow night. You return what belongs to me. Or everyone learns what you really are. Victoria stared at the message until her vision blurred, then slowly deleted it. But she could not delete the truth that pulsed beneath her ribs like a second heartbeat. Tomorrow night she would face the man whose life she had destroyed. The man who had loved her completely, and whom she had betrayed beyond forgiveness. The man who still, after everything, held the one secret that could destroy her entirely. The scar along her left temple throbbed with the familiar ache of old wounds. She touched it gently, remembering the night everything changed. The night she made her choice. Outside, the rain turned to sleet, tapping against the windows like fingers trying to get in. Victoria pulled out her phone and typed a single-word reply to the unknown number. Fine. Then she sat in the growing darkness, watching the city lights flicker on one by one, each a small surrender to the coming night. The Fairmont Olympic Hotel ballroom glittered like a cathedral of ambition. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across Seattle's elite, their laughter sharp as breaking glass. Victoria moved through the crowd in a midnight blue gown that had once been her mother's, each step measured despite the chaos churning in her stomach. She felt him before she saw him. Dominic Sterling stood near the auction display, his broad shoulders cutting an imposing figure in his tailored tuxedo. The years had carved lines around his steel blue eyes, had salted his dark hair with gray at the temples. When he turned and their eyes met across the crowded room, time fractured. Victoria. His voice was whiskey and smoke as he approached, each syllable weighted with history. You look beautiful. The same dress you wore to our first gala. She forced her breathing to remain steady as he stopped close enough that she could smell his cologne. The same scent that had once lived in her clothes, her hair, her dreams. You said we needed to talk. Not here. His fingers brushed her elbow, the touch electric and unwelcome. The penthouse suite. 1 hour. Before she could respond, he melted back into the crowd, leaving her standing alone with the weight of every curious stare in the room. She recognized the whispers, the subtle pointing. Everyone remembered Victoria Hayes, the assistant who had married the billionaire boss. Few knew Victoria Sterling, the woman who had vanished into the night with everything he valued most. 58 minutes later, she stood before the penthouse door, her hand frozen over the brass knocker. Through the heavy wood, she could hear piano music, something classical and mournful. The door opened before she could knock, still punctual. Dominic stepped aside to let her enter, his presence filling the doorway like a storm front. Some things never change. The suite was exactly as she remembered. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Elliott Bay, where city lights bled gold across dark water. The same leather furniture, the same abstract paintings that had once hung in their home, even the piano in the corner where he used to play while she worked late into the night. You kept everything. The words slipped out before she could stop them. I kept what mattered. He moved to the bar, his movements controlled but tense. Scotch? Or do you still prefer that wine you could never pronounce correctly? Just tell me what you want, Dominic. He poured himself 3 fingers of amber liquid, then turned to face her. In the lamplight, she could see the exhaustion etched around his eyes. I want my research back. The quantum encryption protocols you stole. The ones that built your little empire. Victoria's laugh was sharp as winter air. My little empire? Hayes Technologies is worth $12 billion, Dominic. I'd hardly call that little. Built on my work. His voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout. My sleepless nights, my breakthrough moments, my life's work. You took it all and disappeared like smoke. I took what I helped create. The lie tasted bitter, but she had practiced it so many times it almost felt true. Those protocols wouldn't exist without my contributions. Your contributions. He set down his glass with deliberate care. You mean typing my notes, scheduling my meetings, warming my bed while you planned to gut everything I built? The words hit like physical blows, but Victoria kept her expression neutral. She had learned to hide pain the way other people learned to hide money, carefully and completely. You want to know what your real contribution was? Dominic moved closer, his eyes burning with old fury. You were the one person I trusted completely, the one person I never thought to protect myself from. Dominic. I never meant for things to happen the way they did. The truth slipped out before she could catch it, raw and desperate. Then why? He was close enough now that she could see the gold flecks in his blue eyes, could count the new lines that grief had carved around them. Why did you destroy us? Victoria opened her mouth to give him another lie, another carefully constructed excuse. Instead, what came out was the truth that had been clawing at her chest for 5 years. Because you were going to leave me anyway. The silence stretched between them like a blade. Outside, Seattle sparkled in the darkness, indifferent to the ruins of what had once been love. What are you talking about? His voice was barely audible. I found the letters, Dominic. The ones from Catherine Blackwood. The ones where you talked about ending our marriage. About how you'd made a mistake marrying your assistant. Victoria's voice cracked like old glass. So I took what I could and left before you could throw me away. Dominic stepped back as if she had struck him. Victoria, those letters were never meant to be sent. They were rough drafts of thoughts I never intended to act on. They felt real enough at the time. Her hands clenched at her sides. Real enough to steal $50 million? Real enough to sell your life's work to Marcus Reed, your biggest competitor. The name hung between them like a curse. Marcus Reed, the venture capitalist who had bankrolled Victoria's new company. The man whose marriage proposal still sat unanswered on her desk. Real enough to protect myself from being discarded like yesterday's news. Victoria lifted her chin defiantly, even as tears blurred her vision. I wasn't going to let you destroy me the way your friends said you would. My friends? Dominic's expression shifted from anger to something that looked almost like heartbreak. What friends? Jonathan Pierce, Richard Hawthorne. They told me all about your pattern. How you used women and threw them away. How I was just the latest in a long line of convenient arrangements. For a long moment, Dominic said nothing. Then slowly, he began to laugh. It was not a sound of humor, but of recognition, bitter and knowing. Jonathan and Richard. He shook his head. They never could stand that I chose you over Catherine Blackwood. never could accept that their world wasn't the only one that mattered. What are you saying? I'm saying they played you perfectly, Victoria. They fed you just enough truth mixed with just enough lies to make you self-destruct. Dominic walked to the window, his reflection ghost-like in the glass. Those letters you found? I wrote them the night after Jonathan told me you were only with me for the money. I was trying to work through my doubts, my fears. I never meant to send them. I burned them all the next morning. Victoria's world tilted on its axis. You're lying. Am I? He turned to face her, and in his eyes she saw something that made her blood run cold. Truth. Check the dates on those letters, Victoria. Then check when Catherine's engagement was announced. I was never going back to her. She was getting married to someone else. The room suddenly felt too small. The air too thin. I don't believe you. You don't have to. Dominic pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. But in 30 seconds, you're going to receive an email. Read it. Then tell me who really destroyed us. Her phone buzzed. Victoria looked down at the screen, her hands trembling. The email was from Jonathan Pierce's assistant, dated 5 years ago. The subject line read, "Per your request. Draft letters for Mr. Sterling." Victoria's vision blurred as she opened the attachment. Every letter she had found. Every word that had shattered her world. All of them written in Jonathan's handwriting, not Dominic's. No. The word came out as a whisper. No. They forged them, Victoria. They planted them where you would find them. They manipulated both of us. And we did exactly what they wanted. We destroyed each other. Victoria sank onto the leather couch, the phone slipping from her fingers. What have I done? Dominic knelt in front of her, his face level with hers. You survived. You built something extraordinary. And now we're going to make them pay for what they did to us. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. But first, you need to see what I've been working on for the past 5 years. What I've really been building while everyone thought I was broken. Victoria looked up at him, her heart hammering against her ribs. What is it? Dominic's smile was dangerous and beautiful. Proof. Evidence of every illegal deal Jonathan and Richard have made. Every bribe, every manipulation, every life they've destroyed. And the keystone to bringing them down is locked in the one place they can never reach. He pressed the flash drive into her palm. Your company's servers, Victoria, stared at the flash drive in her palm like it was a live grenade. The weight of 5 years pressed down on her shoulders, heavy as concrete. You want me to help you? Her voice was hollow. After what I did to you? What they made you do. Dominic stood and walked back to the bar, pouring another drink with hands that were almost steady. There's a difference. I still made the choice. I still stole from you. I still ran. Victoria looked up at him, tears finally breaking free. I destroyed us, Dominic. Whether they planted the seeds or not, I'm the one who burned everything down. He turned to face her, and in the lamplight she could see something shifting in his expression, something raw and unguarded. Do you know what the worst part was? His voice cracked. It wasn't the money. It wasn't even the research. It was waking up that morning and finding you gone. No note, no explanation. Just empty drawers and silence. I couldn't face you. The confession ripped out of her. I couldn't watch you pretend you still loved me when I knew you were planning to leave. I was never planning to leave you, Victoria. I was planning to propose again. The room went silent except for the soft hum of the city below. What? Dominic reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a ring, the diamond catching the light like captured starlight. I bought this the week before you left. I wanted to renew our vows, make it real in a way that had nothing to do with business or convenience or any of the things people whispered about us. He closed the box with a soft snap. I wanted you to know that marrying you was the best decision I ever made. Victoria couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in, the truth suffocating her. Stop, please stop. Why? Because it hurts? Dominic moved closer, his presence overwhelming. Good. I've been hurting for 5 years. I've been building this case for 5 years, waiting for the moment I could make them pay. And now I finally have it. What do you need from me? Access to your company's mainframe. Jonathan and Richard have been using Hayes Technologies to launder money through shell corporations. They think you don't know. They think you're just their useful pawn. His smile was predatory. But if we access those servers together, We can trace every transaction back to them. We can destroy them the way they destroyed us. Victoria stood, her legs unsteady. She walked to the window and pressed her forehead against the cold glass. There's something you don't know. Her voice was barely a whisper. Something I've been hiding. What? She turned to face him, and the words that had been locked inside her for 5 years finally broke free. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was absolute. What did you say? I'm 3 months pregnant, Dominic. The baby is Marcus Reed's. Victoria's hands trembled as she wrapped her arms around herself. He proposed 6 weeks ago. He wants to announce our engagement at the shareholders' meeting next month. He wants to merge our companies. Dominic's face went pale, then flushed with something Victoria couldn't read. You're going to marry him? I don't know. The honesty surprised her. He's been good to me. He doesn't know about my past, about what I did to you. He thinks I'm just a brilliant entrepreneur who got lucky. Lucky. Dominic's laugh was bitter. Is that what we're calling theft now? I didn't come here to fight with you, Dominic. I came because you threatened me, because you said you had proof of what I really am. And now you're threatening me back? Using your pregnancy as leverage? No. Victoria moved toward him, her eyes fierce. I'm telling you because you deserve to know the truth. All of it. Even the parts that make me look worse than you already think I am. Dominic set down his glass and studied her face in the dim light. Do you love him? The question hung between them like a prayer. I don't know how to love anyone anymore. Victoria's voice cracked. You were the only person I ever really loved, and I destroyed that. I destroyed us. I don't think I'm capable of that kind of feeling again. Then why are you considering his proposal? Because he's safe. Because he looks at me like I'm worth something. Because maybe if I pretend long enough, I'll forget what it felt like to have something real. Dominic crossed the distance between them in 3 strides. He cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. You want to know what's real, Victoria? This, right here. The fact that I should hate you. That I've spent 5 years trying to hate you, and I still can't. The fact that seeing you again feels like coming home after a war I never wanted to fight. Dominic. His name was a warning and a plea. Tell me you don't feel it. Tell me you're completely over us and I'll walk away. I'll take my evidence to the authorities myself and leave you out of it. You can marry Marcus Reed and have your safe, comfortable life. Victoria closed her eyes, feeling his breath against her face, his hands warm on her skin. I can't tell you that. Then help me. His voice was urgent now. Help me bring them down. Give me access to those servers, and we'll expose Jonathan and Richard for what they really are. We'll take back what they stole from us. And then what? Victoria opened her eyes to find him watching her with an intensity that made her heart stutter. What happens after we destroy them? Then we decide if what we had is worth trying to rebuild. The offer hung in the air between them, dangerous and tempting. Victoria's phone buzzed. She pulled it from her clutch and read the message, her face draining of color. What is it? It's from Jonathan Pierce. Her voice was hollow. He knows I'm here. He knows we're meeting. She turned the phone toward Dominic. The message was simple and chilling. Whatever he's telling you is a lie. Meet me at the warehouse on Harbor Avenue in 1 hour, and I'll show you proof. Come alone, or Victoria's secrets go public. Dominic read the message, his jaw tightening. It's a trap. Obviously. Victoria's mind was racing. But if he has proof of what I did, if he has documentation of the theft, the fraud, everything, he can destroy me. He can take my company, expose me, send me to prison. Then we don't go. We stick to the plan. There is no plan, Dominic. There's just your word against theirs. And I'm the one with everything to lose. Victoria stepped back, pulling away from his touch. I built my company from stolen goods. I'm the villain in this story, not them. You were manipulated. I was weak. The admission tasted like poison. I let them convince me you didn't love me. I let fear turn me into someone I don't recognize. And now I have to face the consequences. Dominic grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. Then let me come with you. Let me face this together. No. Victoria's voice was firm. If this goes wrong, if Jonathan has the power he claims, I won't drag you down with me. You've already lost enough because of my choices. Victoria, please, She reached up and touched his face, memorizing the feel of his skin under her fingers. If I don't come back, promise me something. Don't talk like that. Promise me you'll forget about revenge. Promise me you'll move on. Find someone who deserves you. Build the life you were always meant to have. Dominic pulled her against his chest, his arms wrapping around her like armor. I can't promise that. Then promise me you'll try. Before he could respond, Victoria pulled away and walked toward the door. She paused with her hand on the knob, looking back at him one last time. For what it's worth, Dominic, I'm sorry. For everything. Then she was gone, disappearing into the hallway, leaving him standing alone in the penthouse with nothing but memories and the ghost of what they used to be. Dominic looked down at the flash drive still sitting on the coffee table. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. It's me. She's walking into a trap. Get everyone in position. We move in 15 minutes. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, his jaw set with grim determination. If Victoria thought she was facing this alone, she was about to learn she was very, very wrong. The warehouse on Harbor Avenue squatted in darkness, its windows like dead eyes staring out at the water. Victoria's heels clicked against wet pavement as she approached, each step echoing in the silence. Fog rolled in from Elliott Bay, thick and suffocating. She pushed through the rusted door. Inside, a single light illuminated the center of the vast space. Jonathan Pierce stood beneath it, his silver hair perfectly styled, his suit immaculate despite the decay around him. Richard Hawthorne lounged against a support beam, smoking a cigarette, his thin smile predatory. Victoria. Jonathan's voice echoed off concrete walls. Right on time. You always were punctual. You said you had proof. She stopped 10 feet away, maintaining distance. Show me. Straight to business. Richard flicked ash onto the floor. No greeting for old friends? We were never friends. No, Jonathan agreed, stepping forward. But we were partners, whether you knew it or not. He pulled out a tablet and swiped through screens, then turned it toward her. Victoria's blood turned to ice. Bank transfers, email chains, video footage of her accessing Dominic's research files, documents with her signature authorizing the sale to competing firms. Everything she had done, meticulously documented. How did you get this? We've been tracking you from the beginning, Victoria. Every move you made, every decision, every betrayal. We made sure there was evidence. Jonathan's smile was cold. We needed someone to take the fall when the time came. You were perfect. Understanding crashed over her like a wave. The letters weren't just about destroying my marriage. They were about creating a criminal. Creating? Richard laughed. No, sweetheart. You did that all by yourself. We just made sure you did it in ways that would benefit us. Hayes Technologies has been laundering our money for 3 years. Jonathan pocketed the tablet. Your company, your servers, your name on every transaction. If this goes public, you'll spend the next 20 years in prison. What do you want? Smart girl? Jonathan circled her slowly. We want you to sign over controlling interest in Hayes Technologies. We want your resignation as CEO. We want you to disappear, quietly and permanently. And if I refuse, then we release everything. The theft, the fraud, the corporate espionage. We'll also release something else. Richard pulled out his phone. Video footage of you meeting with Marcus Reed last month. The conversation where you told him about Dominic's new quantum encryption project. The one Sterling thinks is still secret. Victoria's stomach dropped. I never told Marcus about that. No, Jonathan agreed. But we have video that says you did. Deepfake technology is remarkable these days. We can make you say anything we want. This is blackmail. This is business. Jonathan stopped in front of her. You have 48 hours to decide. Sign over your company, or we destroy what's left of your life. There's a third option. The voice came from the shadows near the east entrance. Dominic stepped into the light, flanked by 2 men in suits Victoria didn't recognize. Dominic. Jonathan's expression didn't flicker. I was wondering when you'd show up. Still playing the hero? No. Dominic moved closer, his presence commanding. I'm playing the long game, something you two never understood. He pulled out his phone and pressed a button. Suddenly, the warehouse was flooded with light. Figures emerged from the shadows. Police officers, federal agents, a woman with a recording device. What is this? Richard's cigarette fell from his fingers. This is justice. Dominic looked at Victoria, his eyes intense. Every word you just said was recorded. Every threat, every admission of fraud and blackmail. It's over. Jonathan's face went pale, then flushed with rage. You're bluffing. You have nothing that would stand up in court. Actually, we have everything. The woman with the recording device stepped forward, her FBI badge glinting in the harsh lights. Special Agent Chen. We've been building a case against you both for 18 months. Mr. Sterling came to us a year ago with evidence of your manipulation. Tonight's conversation was the final piece we needed. Victoria helped you? Richard stared at her in disbelief. No. Dominic's voice was firm. Victoria had no idea. I kept her out of it to protect her, to give her a chance at a clean slate. Victoria felt tears burning behind her eyes. Why? Dominic met her gaze across the warehouse. Because despite everything, despite what you did, I never stopped believing you deserved better than this. Better than them. How touching. Jonathan's voice dripped with venom. But you're forgetting something, Sterling. Victoria is guilty too. She stole from you. She committed crimes. Even if you bring us down, she goes down with us. Not necessarily. Agent Chen stepped forward. Ms. Hayes has been offered immunity in exchange for her testimony about your illegal activities. Her cooperation will be invaluable in building cases against your entire network. Immunity? Victoria's voice was barely audible. I don't understand. It means you get a second chance. Dominic moved closer, his eyes never leaving hers. It means you testify against them, help us unravel their organization, and in return the charges against you are dropped. But my company, Hayes Technologies, will be restructured. Agent Chen consulted her notes. The legitimate parts of your business will continue under new management until the investigation is complete. Your name will be cleared. Victoria felt the room spinning. 5 years of guilt, of fear, of running from her past, and suddenly there was a door opening. A way out. What's the catch? The catch, Dominic said softly, is that you have to tell the truth. All of it. Every manipulation, every lie they fed you, every way they controlled you. You have to be willing to face what happened and own your part in it. Victoria looked at Jonathan and Richard, their faces twisted with rage and fear. Then she looked at Dominic, at the man she had loved and betrayed, who was somehow offering her salvation. I'll do it. The words came out strong and clear. I'll testify. I'll tell you everything. You stupid girl. Jonathan lunged forward, but agents grabbed him before he reached her. You have no idea what you're starting. We have people everywhere. This won't end just because you play cooperating witness. Maybe not. Victoria stepped closer, her voice steady. But at least I'll be telling the truth for the first time in 5 years. At least I'll be facing what I've done instead of running from it. As agents led Jonathan and Richard away in handcuffs, Victoria stood alone in the center of the warehouse. Dominic approached slowly, giving her space. Why did you do this? Her voice cracked. Why did you protect me after what I did to you? Because you were right earlier. What we had was real. He stopped just inches away. And real things are worth fighting for, even when they're broken. Even when everyone says they can't be fixed. I'm pregnant with another man's child. I know. I stole from you. I betrayed you. I know that too. Then why? Dominic reached up and wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. Because 5 years ago, I made a promise to love you through anything, through better or worse, through every mistake and every triumph. I broke a lot of promises when I let you go. I'm not breaking that one again. Victoria's tears fell freely now. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve you. Maybe not. Dominic's smile was sad and beautiful. But here's what I learned in 5 years without you. Deserving has nothing to do with it. Love isn't about keeping score or measuring worth. It's about choosing each other, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. What about Marcus? The baby? That's your choice to make, Victoria. I'm not asking you to choose me. I'm just asking you to stop running from yourself. Agent Chen cleared her throat nearby. Ms. Hayes, we need to take your official statement. If you're ready, Victoria looked at Dominic one more time. Will you be there? When I testify? Every day. His voice was a promise. Every single day. As agents led her toward the exit, Victoria turned back. Dominic. Yes? Thank you. For not giving up on me when I gave up on myself. Then she was gone, walking toward whatever came next, toward truth and consequences, and the slim possibility of redemption. Dominic stood alone in the warehouse, 6 months later. Rain fell softly on the courthouse steps as Victoria emerged into gray morning light. The trial was over. Jonathan Pierce and Richard Hawthorne would spend the next 15 years in federal prison. Their empire of manipulation and fraud had crumbled under the weight of evidence, testimony, and truth. Victoria pulled her coat tighter against the October chill. She was 7 months pregnant now, her body carrying the visible weight of her choices. Marcus Reed had ended their engagement the day the news broke, disappearing from her life as quickly as he had entered it. She hadn't heard from him since. Victoria. She turned to find Dominic standing a few steps away, an umbrella in his hand. He had been there every day of the trial, sitting in the back of the courtroom, exactly as he had promised. But they hadn't spoken beyond brief courtesies. She hadn't known what to say. "It's over," she said simply. "One part is." He moved closer, holding the umbrella over both of them. "The rest is just beginning." They stood in silence, watching rain blur the city around them. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. "I'm moving to Portland," Victoria said finally. "Hayes Technologies is being sold to a consortium. The money will go to restitution for the companies I damaged. I'll have enough left to start over, somewhere small and quiet." "Portland's nice." Dominic's voice was carefully neutral. "Good coffee. Lots of rain. Yes. Is that what you want? Small and quiet?" Victoria looked down at her hands, at the faint tan line where her wedding ring used to sit. "I don't know what I want anymore. For 5 years I wanted revenge, then survival, then redemption. Now I just want peace." "Peace is good." Dominic shifted the umbrella, rain pattering against fabric. "But it's also lonely." "I'll have the baby." "You will." He paused. "Have you told Marcus?" "I tried. He won't return my calls." Victoria's laugh was bitter. "Can't say I blame him. I'm not exactly a prize." "You're wrong about that." She looked up at him, surprised by the intensity in his voice. "You're one of the strongest people I've ever known, Victoria. You made mistakes, yes. You hurt people, but you also stood up and told the truth when it would have been easier to run. You faced consequences. That takes courage most people never find." Tears burned behind her eyes. "Why are you being kind to me? After everything?" "Because someone should be." Dominic reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "This is for you." Victoria opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a letter, handwritten on expensive paper. "Victoria, 5 years ago, I wrote vows that I never got to say. They've lived in my desk drawer ever since, waiting for a moment that never came. I'm giving them to you now, not as a proposal or a promise, but as the truth of what was real between us. I loved you because you challenged me, because you saw the world differently than anyone I'd ever met, because when you laughed, it sounded like permission to be happy, because you made ordinary moments feel extraordinary. I loved you for your ambition, your hunger for more, your refusal to settle for what others thought you deserved. I loved you for your flaws, for your sharp edges, for the parts of you that didn't apologize for taking up space. I loved you completely. I still do, but love alone isn't enough to build a life. We need trust and forgiveness and the willingness to start again from ruins. I don't know if we have those things. I don't know if we ever will. What I do know is this. Wherever you go, whatever you choose, I want you to be happy. I want you to find the peace you're looking for. And if someday you decide that peace might include me, I'll be waiting. Until then, know that you were never a mistake. Our marriage was never a regret. You were, and are, the love of my life. Yours, Dominic. Victoria's hands shook as she finished reading. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with rain. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Dominic's voice was gentle. I just needed you to know. Before you left. Before you started your quiet life in Portland. She looked up at him, at the man who had every reason to hate her, and somehow still chose love. What if I asked you to come with me? The question hung between them, fragile and dangerous. Victoria, what if I said I don't want quiet and small? What if I said I want messy and complicated and real? Her voice grew stronger. What if I said I want to spend the rest of my life proving I can be the person you believed I was? Dominic set down the umbrella, letting rain fall on both of them. Then I would say you're crazy, that we'd be starting from ashes, that it would be hard and painful, and there would be days we'd both wonder if we made the right choice. And then, he cupped her face in his hands, water streaming down both their faces. And then I'd say yes. Every time. I'd choose you every time. Their lips met in the rain, a kiss that tasted like salt and hope, and the slim possibility of forgiveness. When they pulled apart, Victoria was laughing through her tears. We're going to be terrible at this. Probably. Dominic grinned. But we'll be terrible together. The baby. Marcus's baby. Will be our baby. His hand moved to her stomach. If you'll let me. If you'll trust me with that gift. Victoria placed her hand over his. I'm scared. Me too. What if I mess this up again? Then we'll fix it. Together. Dominic pressed his forehead against hers. No more running. No more secrets. Just us figuring it out one day at a time. Victoria nodded, unable to speak around the emotion clogging her throat. They stood there on the courthouse steps as rain fell around them. Two broken people choosing to be broken together rather than whole apart. It wasn't the ending she had imagined 5 years ago. It wasn't the dramatic reunion or the grand gesture. It was something better, something real. So Portland? Dominic asked finally. Actually, I was thinking Seattle. Victoria smiled. I hear there's a tech company looking for a consultant. Someone with experience in quantum encryption. Is that right? Sterling Technologies. I think I know the owner. He's stubborn, brilliant, occasionally infuriating. He sounds terrible. He is. Victoria kissed him again, soft and sure. But he's also the only person I've ever wanted to build a life with. Then, I guess he's lucky you gave him a second chance. We gave each other a second chance. They walked down the courthouse steps together, rain soaking through their clothes. Dominic's umbrella forgotten on the concrete behind them. At the bottom, Victoria paused. I need to say something. Out loud. For both of us. Okay. She turned to face him fully, rain streaming down her face. I was wrong. About everything. I let fear convince me I wasn't worthy of love. I let manipulation turn me into someone I hated. I made choices that hurt you. That hurt me. That hurt everyone around us. And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. I know. Dominic's voice was thick with emotion. And I forgive you. For all of it. How? How can you forgive something like that? Because holding on to anger was destroying me. He pulled her close. Because I'd rather spend the rest of my life healing with you than spend it being right without you. Victoria buried her face in his chest, feeling his heartbeat against her cheek. I love you, she whispered. I never stopped. Even when I hated myself, even when I ran, I never stopped loving you. I know. He kissed the top of her head. I felt it. Every day. Every moment. Even when you were gone. They stood there in the rain, holding each other like anchors in a storm, while Seattle moved around them. People passed with umbrellas and hurried steps, oblivious to the quiet miracle happening on the courthouse steps. Two people finding their way back to each other. Two people choosing love over fear. Two people proving that some things, even when shattered, are worth putting back together. The rain began to ease, sunlight breaking through clouds in thin golden streams. Victoria looked up at the sky, then at Dominic, then at the city spread out before them. So what happens now? Dominic took her hand, lacing their fingers together. Now we start again. One day at a time. One choice at a time. One truth at a time. Together? Together. They walked toward the parking lot. Toward whatever came next. Toward a future that was uncertain and fragile and entirely their own. Behind them, the courthouse stood silent, witness to endings and beginnings, to justice and mercy, to the complicated truth that sometimes the only way forward is through. Victoria looked back one last time at the building where she had faced her past. Then she turned forward, toward the man beside her, toward the life they would build from the ruins of what they had lost. It wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be real. and real was all they had ever really wanted. The end as the last of the agents filtered out. He pulled out the small velvet box from his pocket and opened it, staring at the ring that had lived there for 5 years. Not yet, he whispered to himself, but maybe someday. Then he pocketed the box and followed Victoria into the night, ready to face whatever came next. Together.